Hello, lovely people. I'm Sinead, and welcome. As you can see, I finished my blue shirt. I have flower-shaped buttons, which you may be able to tell, but I put them on here in different colors. Let's see. So the shirt, has a little bit of fun, colorful flair to it, and I had forgotten just how comfortable this fabric was. So while it's not going to last very long, it's probably going to be a favorite and get worn out really fast because it is incredibly comfortable. I also finished up those knit wool pants that I talked about. And as you can see, I did stripes and I lined it in flannel. So we've got, the upper part is the dark purple and then it goes to stripes. You'll probably never see me wearing them because I don't film my pants. But know that I finished them. Now they get put away till winter. Finished them just in time for summer. I also pulled out an old project this week. Let's see, I've got Ellowyne here. This dress that Ellowyne is wearing is actually a dress for the Bleuette doll, the body that came, right now I can't remember the designer who brought the body back for people to make reproduction Bleuettes, but anyway, this dress fit that body, and I had planned to make the pattern available. It's a knitting pattern. This one has crocheted trim, but I decided that when revisiting it that I should probably knit the trim. So here is the do-over. I had the whole dress knit up. I just needed to put it together and trim out the back with buttonholes and whatnot on the back and around the neck. I had to do the trim there. But I got to it. I went over the pattern and went over the notes I had and revised them with the new notes, and now I get to make it again because I waited so long, and that's not a bad thing. I'll make it again in pink. And it will hopefully fit my porcelain Kessner that I've been working on, and hopefully I will get back to that and finally match that paint as well, but that didn't make it onto the list this week. But the dress did, and in the process of deciding that I was going to go over this again, obviously I found some issues and found more questions than answers on writing the pattern, and so thus the need to do it again. I decided to play around with it a little bit as well, and that is what I'm working on today. Is I am beginning that project over again for Ellowyne specifically, the Wednesday here. I think the lavender is adorable, but a dark purple would be more in line with Wednesday, and I'm changing up the front of it and using a different weight of crochet thread to knit with, so it won't look the same. I'm hoping that it'll work, that it won't be a big deal, and that I can use basically the notes that I made and make this up. I am knitting the bodice without the lace inset, and then I'm going to crochet the skirt. But we're cast on. That's all we've done, and we're cast on at the waist of the dress, not at. This is knit from the hem up to the shoulders, and I skipped the whole skirt portion. I also lengthened this when I decided to do it over. I made it an inch longer, although that is really cute on her, the shorter version. So I'm gonna have to see if I can give two versions, like two different lengths on that. And maybe even include the crochet option on the trim, just in case you do know how to crochet and knit. And hopefully this doesn't take me, more than a couple months instead of the years that I've already been had it as a project, ongoing project that I would revisit now and again. So let me turn around the camera and we'll get started. So I first knit this dress in like 2015, and I had at the time a eBay store where I sewed clothes for Shirley Temple, and I started crocheting actually for Bleuette, and I didn't use patterns. I just would crochet up a dress, and unfortunately most of the time I didn't keep track of what I was crocheting, so every piece was unique. I tried a few times to keep track, but I was struggling with that, much like I'm struggling with this first row of stitching. The cast-on stitches are sometimes more complicated. I mean, just not complicated, just tighter, I guess. And maybe that's probably all me, making my life more of a struggle. But anyway, I decided to try and, after I knit the dress, and I did make efforts to keep track of what I was doing. And then I went back and went over the dress and kind of wrote down more notes, and decided that what really needed to happen is I needed to write notes as I knit the dress again. And so I knit this, as you see it here, and did write down all of the decreases and everything in an easier to understand format. But then I set it down for some reason. I don't know what happened at that time, but I did keep it all together, the notes, the dress, even though the dress wasn't assembled. I even had the sleeves, which that my notes on the original sleeves were really difficult to understand, and so I had gone back and figured out how to go about that again. And I think I actually wrote down what I thought I should do, and then the process of knitting it was verifying whether or not I'd done it, whether or not I deciphered it correctly. And yeah, so it's just been a long process of figuring it out, and then having time to work on it again. And long time ago, I probably stopped crocheting and sewing and everything by 2017. I don't think I had the eBay store anymore. Not 100% certain on that, but I switched over to Etsy with sewing patterns at some point, and was working on that. For actually inspired by the little Real Pookie so was a huge inspiration for creating patterns, because I could not find sewing patterns for the doll. There's a lot of, that's one of those things. There's a lot of BJD sewing patterns out there, but they were all for the bigger BJDs, not for the little ones. And so that's why I started doing that. But when I discovered this weekend that the dress fit Ellowyne, I thought, it's got more than one doll that can wear it. I should go ahead and make it up and do another test run. And that is what I did, basically. So I like to slip the first stitch, but when you're doing that cast on edge, it's really hard to do. And I didn't bring anything over here to write down what it was I was doing, so hopefully I don't lose count of how many rows I've done, because that's an issue. So I don't plan on doing the lace insert right here on this one. This one's going to have a plain front, and I might sew buttons on there or something. And then I want to pick up the stitches here, which would be right here, right along here, and crochet a lace skirt on it, and then line the whole skirt with black, maybe black silk, if I can find it. And I was trying to think. So on Monday, there was a video about pottery and kind of the creative process. And I have been putting out little shorts on Mondays, but I didn't this last Monday. This last Monday was the pottery video instead. Creative processes here. And I haven't been doing as much sculpting as I'd like, but I am sculpting. I mean, I guess it's different kind of sculpting. Doll sculpting. I haven't been able to get back to that, but I have what's called a sprig mold in the works. It's a relief sculpture. So you've done the sculpture in relief form, and then you're going to press clay over it to create a stamp, basically, or mold, sprig mold, to then use to be able to repeat the design more easily. So I've been doing a mudwood cottage, or I did a mudwood cottage, and I did a gnome. So those can be, if they work, used to put a cottage on a mug or tankard, or even the middle of a plate. Not that we put textured stuff in the middle of a plate. I think that would go against every single ick factor for us. Because for us, a lot of the times, we don't like texture on the surface where you put food or liquid that you're going to consume because of cleaning. It's kind of a no, don't do that thing. Although a light texture wouldn't be a big deal. I mean, where it was a very, very shallow texture. But the cottage and the gnome are not light textures. They're pretty diverse and would be really easy to mess up. I don't know. Really easy to get foodstuffs caught in them. And then that would be a problem, wouldn't it? Nobody likes food stuff stuck in their plate. So, wouldn't do that. And I did a series of mushroom mugs this last weekend. And I can see lots of room for improvement, but they actually turned out pretty good. And I also did my first coil built crock, I guess. It looks like it'll hold somewhere between 2 and 3 gallons, and we're going to fire it so that it still has a porous. So it's more like a flower pot, and so that we can put the reclaim clay when it's at its soggiest into it and see if it'll sweat out or allow the moisture to transfer out and make doing reclaim a little easier, because we've been using plastic buckets and it doesn't allow any moisture out. You just have to kind of wait for it to get enough clay in the water that it's easy to scoop out the clay. I don't know. It's a labor-intensive process, no matter what, but kind of hoping that we could get some of the moisture that is necessary for doing reclaimed clay, but getting it to evaporate or kind of sieve out easier. And so that's what I built that for. I was trying to think what else I've worked on. And I got all those little miniatures painted, and I'm trying to come up with the next project for the doll videos and doll houses. And I have pulled out some stuff, you know, like I discovered when I was pulling out things off of the bottom shelf of the high rise, that the way in which I'd done the wiring was going to have to be redone. It's the tape didn't hold, which I kind of knew that was going to be a problem, but you know, at the same time, you still do it that way. So I've got to go back and glue paper up in there to hold the wiring. Not really enthusiastic about doing that, but I've already done it on 2 of the floors where the wires go from one floor to the next, and gluing a piece of paper over the wires works. So it's not like I'm trying something, you know, for the major one that's on the bottom floor. I strung the wire all around, you know, almost the entire circumference, the entire top of the wall in there. So it's a lot of wire falling down, and you can't keep sliding things in and out of there without fixing that. I'm also trying to decide, since almost everything that I've pulled out of the high rise is still just sitting on the floor, it doesn't have shelves to go on yet. I'm trying to decide whether to continue pulling, you know, with moving on to the next floor, or whether I should just stop and design and build furniture for a while until we get a chance to do the shelves, so that we have less stuff pulled out onto the floor would be nice, because it's already hitting that point where it's kind of dangerous. I've tripped over a few things, and I don't need to be tripping on things. But anyway, that's what's going on with the high rise, is things that need to happen behind the scenes. Is I need to fix that wiring and decide whether I'm going to build furniture or whether I'm going to go on to decorating the next floor. And, you know, I want to decorate the next floor. That's what I want to do. But I also don't want to trip every time I move around my room. So I don't know, maybe I should make it a priority to go build the shelves or something. But I need help, so that's what's holding that up. Well, I hope you've found this little chat interesting, and I hope you have a delightful day and a wonderful week, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.